Dimwitted by Jesse Levine.
Good evening, everyone. This is your host, Jess, and I lost the entirety of this podcast recording because I basically kept hitting my mic cable the whole time. And I got really angry for a moment. And for a moment, I was just so unbelievably livid. And then I just realized what the actual main theme of this was. Because I got angry, the quality of my product was getting worse. I wasn't doing the best that I possibly do. I was letting my anger get the best of me, and I just was not understanding what really the problem was. And instead, I was focusing on in the moment of just lashing out. And yes, lashing out can be very good and very therapeutic for the moment. But say you're in a multiplayer game of Valorant and you need a clutch up and you're all angry and whatnot, and you're just lashing out at this teammate who can't hold C-sight. You're going, rah, rah, and they're like, dude, what the hell, man? And suddenly they're getting angry too, and you create a problem of like a domino effect, and you increase the spread of communism across the world. And this is where your mental game fortitude comes into play. Because you gave in to anger so quickly, your team has increased odds of losing the whole game now. And that is why today's episode is being made. Because it's really just about trying to keep our cool in moments of weakness. Because our anger will get the best of us. At the end of the day, a lot of this is about the just ego of winning. Not necessarily, it's like, where do we get, we could get a skin or something, but it's the ego. Feeding the ego and making it way too powerful that it brings us all down in the moment of our worst hubris of possible. So what we really need to focus on is how do we mitigate this powerful ego, and how do we continue to win most of the multiplayer games that we ever get into. Now, let me explain it to you like this. Who is the problem in your game? And you might be like, my teammate, they're the problem. They're always the problem. And I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Some people can do a little bit worse than others, but do you contribute to the problem? Are you degrading your teammate? Are you bringing them down? Because according to Sun Tzu in The Art of War, degrading your teammate actually increases your odds of losing by at least 2%. And Sun Tzu also mentions in The Art of War that if you bring up your teammate, you increase your odds of winning by another 2%. So say you have like a 50% win rate, right? You could have a 52% win rate if you bring up your teammate at the very least. But if you bring down your teammate, you can have 48% or less of a win rate because of that. And I find that an absolutely interesting statistic, because say your teammate's not even doing the best, right? That happens. Sometimes we don't always have the best game, even in our own moments too, as well. When we consider ourselves the god gamer, that's that might be the ego talking, but sometimes you are just really the god gamer, and sometimes that's just how it is. But if you're bringing down someone else, no, not if you're bringing down someone else. But, sometimes if you're doing bad and, your teammate is just like, you know what, dude? You suck. Massive bollocks. That kind of makes you play worse. You don't usually play better when your teammate is usually bringing it out. Sometimes you get that moment where you could possibly pop off, like there are things like that. But sometimes you just feel like you're brought down even lower, and it increases your odds of making mistakes and failures. Like sometimes you could be like, oh, man, clutched up, and now everyone loves me. But that shouldn't be the case. You or your teammate should be loving your bottom frag. And because of that, you can increase your odds of success. Like, you can't get them out of the dark place, mind you. You can't stop them from being tilted, right? But you can stop them from getting further tilted, right? You have to try to handle them as best as possible to prevent a tilt spiral. Because some people just get angry, and you can't really help that. But trying to do your best and keeping the tilt from spreading or just crashing out, it increases your odds of winning. Now, Sun Tzu mentions this mainly because of his time in esports in ancient China. Now, with that being said, how does this actually correlate to your actual game if that's esports? Well, because back in the day they used to play Valorant, and Valorant's popular or something, I don't know. So Sunshu was really good at Valorant. So Sun Shu knows a lot about the team dynamic. I mean, he even wrote about the art of war. You know yourself and you know your opponent, you'll win every battle. You know yourself, but not your opponent. For every win, you suffer a defeat. If you don't know yourself or your opponent, every one, you will suffer a loss. There's a reason why that is, because you have to figure out in like a maybe 30 to 50 minute time span how your team operates and how the other team operates. Because if you find your team is acting dysfunctional, the only people who can bring it out is a strong leader figure. And if you have a positive voice trying to bring people up in a match, most of the time you don't need like Jonathan, like call out coach or something like that a lot of the time, like, dude, let's VOD review or something. You just need someone who can keep up the morale. The morale is strength for your troops, and knowing that your troops need morale will increase your odds of success if you keep the morale up. Now, with that being said, if morale keeps the troops lively, how do we know the enemy team? And now this is the important part. When you're trying to defeat the enemy team, you want their morale to go lower and lower and lower. You don't want the enemy team to have a high morale. You want your team to have the high morale, which is why you need to be nice to your teammates and try to lift them up. You got to upbring them. You got to, you got to start clapping your hands, and then you got to have like your gospel singing choir in the background raising you up as they suddenly get a singular kill in a 15-minute span of time. But you don't want the enemy team to have that gospel choir on their side. You want them to have nothing on their side. You want the silence and dirt and rock and grit and disgust on their side. You don't want them to have success, which is why the importance of destroying the enemy team's morale should be your number one priority. Sometimes it's like people might want to make a YouTube video or something like that with their own team. I get it. I get the grind. But your number one priority should always be destroying the enemy team's morale. That should be priority number one. Because you've seen like posts with like GG Easy or stuff, and people getting so angry about it. Like, it drives people up the walls if you say GG Easy or like sit down or something like that. It really gets on the ego. And it is very useful. Like, you could be angry in the moment, but you don't necessarily have to be angry to say those things. You want to be nice to the enemy team. And I'm like, no. What does being nice to the enemy team get you? Like, think about it at the end of the day. Where has being nice to the enemy team got you? So you could possibly make friends or something, but if we are talking about the success of your game and operation going into that game, you don't want them to be your friend. Why, yes, is friends good at the end of the day? Yeah, sure, whatever. But we're talking about winning the game absolutely. And winning the game absolutely means taking away all other factors out of this. And the social game, you have to destroy their mental. Like, being better than people will destroy mental over time. But childish insults like GG Easy, sit down, stuff like that, it destroys the enemy team's mental because you are demeaning them to a point where they seem quite childish. And maybe they are childish because, we're playing Valorant, right? And, we're probably like, oh man, I can't believe they bought Balls McGee shotgun and shot me in the face. But those childish insults will generally get on their nerves. Like, there are factors that get on people's nerves, but nothing gets on people's nerves than being like a silly Billy and just degrading people in a way that really is like even like poop fart humor in a way. Like, it's just like, man, your gameplay is down the toilet. Like, but like certain ones of these will get on other people's nerves more, like saying like GG Easy, things like that, or it's like typing that like early into the game, like saying gap already. Like, there are ways to do that. And just saying it's like I'm better than you in ways where it's like you don't say I'm better than you, it's a great way to destroy the enemy team's mental. Like, you just want to be like constantly trying to berate them in ways that just make them think that they cannot succeed. Because you are hitting them with childish insults, they cannot fight back. They can like try to do it back, but if they're tilted first, it's gonna show. And if you get like the first strike on them, You immediately have to type something, and it will just spiral their team's mental. If they don't have strong mental fortitude, they will crumble. So what I want you all to go out and do in your mental games is, one, practice good mental fortitude. You know, you can take and handle insults. You know, it's like you might want to play some games and see if, like, man, if someone types like GG easy, sit down or something, can I really handle the heat? That's a good thing to note. Second thing is, if you have a group of friends, you want to designate someone as like the positivity person, or maybe if someone's already genuinely good at it, you want to be like, hey, you know, man, if I'm not doing the best in the game, you know, it's like, man, I need you to help me pull me out of it. And that's great. And the last thing is, you need the whole squad, or at least try to get the whole team on board with destroying the enemy team. The enemy team is not human when you're in the same game as them. They are monsters, and they have to be defeated. There is no, we are on equal playing field. There is, you are the heroes, and they are the monsters. No, I gotta hit my mic for good luck. I wonder if that went...